Hi there, welcome back to the channel. I am Michael and I'm the Horror Gardener. Today we are going to be talking about grief in horror, specifically horror books, and specifically horror books from the last 20 years or so. Um, the idea behind this video is I want to sort of explore a little bit about some of my favorite genre books that actually have grief as the main theme. The reason I am doing this is because I had also I've been dealing with grief in the loss of my dog Daisy this past spring. And I haven't been doing as much reading as I like, and I haven't been doing this channel at all just because I've been sort of just feeling in a really dark place. So I wanted to do this video to sort of highlight some horror books that deal with grief that I think if someone who enjoys horror, who's also going through a grieving process, might enjoy hiding themselves away in these kind of books. Having your heart broken a little bit and then hopefully healing afterwards. So let's just get right into it. These are the books that I feel deal with grief and horror the best way possible. So these are in no particular order as far as like best to worst, but I am going to start with the one that I've probably loved the most. This is Ghostland: In Search of a Haunted Country by Edward Parnell. This is an absolute fantastic book. It is too dark for you to see. I'll put the cover up in a second. So this book is part history book, part grief journal, part travelogue. But it's Edward Parnell revisiting the sites of various British authors, horror authors, and their relation to the land and area where they lived. And he's also dealing with the loss of his entire family. Both parents passed away and his brother passed away. And it's sort of him revisiting spots where they had vacationed and then, dealing with the emptiness of being alone post the death of a family and family members, and also highly educational because it's talking about old horror authors. I absolutely love this book. I gave it 5 stars out of 5. I highly recommend you also go pick this up and read it. It's nonfiction, obviously, but it's nonfiction about our favorite genre, horror. So that's Ghostland by Edward Parnell. The next one I want to talk about is Come With Me by Ronald Malfi. This book is a treasure. It is a man who's lost his wife, and he is in the grieving process of losing her in a really horrible, violent action, and discovering things about his wife, namely that she was investigating a serial killer on the down low without telling him, and he kind of has to pick up the pieces of where she left off and see if he can sort of solve the mystery alongside her. This is beautifully written and very emotionally strong. I cried at this one. Many points just on how fantastic this whole story was. It's also a bit of a ghost story, a little bit of supernatural, then crime thriller. It's a fantastic book. Probably the best one of his that I've read. And I've read about 4 or 5 Ronald Malfi now, and they've all been 5 stars. So I highly recommend Come With Me by Ronald Malfi. So next up is a short novella called Crossroads by Laurel Hightower. This one is featuring a woman who's lost her son, and she is in the throes of the grieving process of losing that. And the son ends up coming back as a ghost. So it's a bit of a ghost story. I really loved this one. This is the only Laurel Hightower I've read so far. I plan on reading more of hers. I think I have her book below on my shelf. I'd like to get into that one as well. But Crossroads really dealt with the loss of a child and the impact it had on on this woman. Again, for a novella, you can't get into too much detail with a novella, but this one really packed a punch and left me brokenhearted at the end. As per usual, all these books are broken heart books, but this one really hit the spot for that. So, that's Crossroads by Laurel Hightower. And next up is a excellent book by Adam Neville. This is The Ritual. Now, this book is dealing with loss of friend, and it's about a group of friends whose buddy had gotten murdered, and they had this hike planned. So they go on this one last hike to sort of do it in honor of him and remember him properly. They end up taking a shortcut through the woods and encounter, let's just say, an evil god. And it gets worse from there. So there's multiple scary creatures in this. This got turned into a really fantastic film, which I also highly recommend. One thing in this book that they left out of the film is there is a black metal band worshiping the creature in this, and so the movie did not touch on that at all. They cut out all of that stuff. But if you love black metal, then this is definitely the book to have that. So this is The Ritual by Adam Neville. Next up is Coup de Grace by Sophie Ajram. Sorry, I apologize. My French is not that great. This book is grieving the life you could have had. It follows a very sad person who is having death ideations and is sort of in a very, very low place. So I would almost consider this grieving oneself. Again, this is a nice little short book, but it packs a punch. This one sort of gave me sort of like House of Leaves meets Cube meets Stalker, or Roadside Picnic, if that makes sense. It sort of follows one person as they're sort of wandering through this bizarre zone. It's like an underground sewer system with stairs that go off and changing shapes, and just as sort of an endless maze that this person is stuck in, which is sort of more metaphorical about how the person's stuck in their own head. I really recommend this one. This one came out, I believe, the beginning of this year or end of last year. I loved it. That is Coup de Grace by Sophia Ajra. So this is a really recent read that I did. This is The Haunting of Velkwood by Gwendolyn Kist. This one, I believe, just won some awards. Is it Edgar Allan Poe awards? I'll double check. But this won some awards for fantastic work on the novel. Pretty much I heard that it won the award, and I went out and bought it like the next week. And then I saw a bunch of people had read this already, of other booktubers, and they talked about it. This one is very well done, and I say the grief aspect of this is grieving the home you left behind when you've moved on in your life. Sort of growing up, grieving your youth. We're following a woman who's now in her 40s, and there was sort of a supernatural event that happened to her small community when she was in her 20s, and the whole town has been sort of engulfed in a shadow, and the remaining people are still there living the life of ghosts. So it's about this character going back to the small town to go back in there and go into the shadow and see what they can find as far as the people remaining there. I did find this very emotionally heavy because it dealt with death of a little sister, and I was reading this pretty much this spring when I lost my dog Daisy, and I always consider her my little sister. I know people have fur babies, but my dogs have always been siblings to me. So yeah, Daisy, when she passed away this past spring, and then character in here is a little sister that's sort of the character's grieving. It was a little hard, to say the least, but I did love it. I do highly recommend The Haunting of Veltwood by Gwendolyn Kist. This is one of the best ones I've read in the last few years, so yeah, go for it. Okay, so this next one is more of a children's novel. This is called A Monster Calls by Patrick Ness. Let's totally white it out. I'll put a picture of that up some point so you can see what it looks like. But The Monster Calls by Patrick Ness follows a young boy whose mother is dying from cancer, and he's pretty much avoiding the situation because he's a child, so obviously he's not going to know how to handle it. But at night, this creature comes, the monster, and is like, I'm going to tell you 3 stories, and after I'm done, I want you to tell me a story. And they all are kind of related to death and sadness, trying to get this boy to deal with the grief that he's feeling about losing his mother. I can attest that this is probably the most emotional of all these books. I was sitting at my work in the lunchroom and weeping openly as I finished this book during my lunch break. And I work with a bunch of older mechanics and blue-collar types, and they were kind of like, what's going on? This guy's crying reading this children's book. I do recommend reading this book. Again, it's A Monster Calls by Patrick Ness. It's heavy material, but grief is heavy, and grief can weigh on somebody. So if you want a good cry to help get some catharsis out, then yeah, try this book. Now, this is an old one, and to be honest, I read this about 20 to 25 years ago. It's Red by Jack Ketchum. This book is grief, but it's also revenge. It's about an older man whose dog is murdered ruthlessly by some local teenagers, and he's out to get revenge. Sometimes the best revenge movies can help give you that kind of catharsis or feelings of grief, depending on what stage you're in of grief or where you are along the healing process. Good example of that as well, the movie Mandy that came out a few years back. I had a very, very rough year where my father-in-law passed away, my dog passed away, one of my good friends at work passed away, and then my mentor from my work suddenly retired. So I was kind of left on my own in this sort of... I felt really alone in the world at that point. And when I watched Mandy on a New Year's Eve of 2018 to 2019, this is after 8 months of constant grief. It felt really cathartic to sort of see this guy go out and hunt down these people. And I did see a lot of my dog in the Mandy character. It was like taking away something you love and having to deal with that. And yeah, so Red follows along with that. So if you want some catharsis, try Red by Jack Ketchum. And last but definitely not least is Full Immersion by Gemma Amour. This one is another heavy book dealing with grief. It's about a woman who's lost her child and the sort of fallout psychologically of that. I probably am one of the biggest fans of Gemma Amour's writing. So far, all of her books have been absolutely fantastic. Full Immersion was her first full-length novel, I believe, and she just completely knocks it out of the park. This one has sort of a weird... There's like sort of a weird sci-fi aspect because the character is sort of going into like a dream world, and there's some sort of bleed out into reality from that, and it really did hit well, and it's very, very, very well written. Gemma Moore is brilliant at making characters feel like real people and their real struggles, and everything she's done has been fantastic. Like, this is a 5-star read. Like, she's probably the best author working right now as far as really emotionally driven, character driven, and like bizarro worlds that she creates. I highly, highly, highly recommend Full Immersion by Gemma Moore. Go get this one immediately. Put it on your shelf. Read it. Okay, so those are all the books that I want to talk about today. I do welcome everybody back to this channel. I know it has been a while since I put out a video about books. I just wasn't feeling up to being in front of a camera and sort of talking to anybody about this stuff, because I want to have fun here. I know this is a grief episode, but you know, I do feel like I feel better just talking to you all about this right now, because as much as my loved ones support me and I can talk to them about how I'm doing with things, these books are very intimate and personal to me, so being able to sort of share that with you guys is what it's making me feel better, just letting you know that this stuff's out here. So yeah, just a sort of final word on this. If anybody else is going through grief, I feel for you. Know that you're not alone. The pain does ease at one point. Whether this is the human nature to be able to handle things and move on and process what's happened. Just remember that even though the person is gone, you still have a relationship with them. You have that connection that is always going to be there. So don't ever do that. 2, remember that grief and the feeling of it, like the physical feeling of it, is love. And it's love not going... It's love doesn't have a place to go. So you take that feeling, you sit with it, you deal with it, and then the best thing you can do, like the best thing, is take all that love you have for that person and put it back out there into the world. And I really feel like you guys can get through this. Okay, so before I start crying, I'm going to stop here and say goodnight. And I'll see you guys in the next bookish video. Have a good day.